I'm going to be talking about the South Platte River and its flooding risks. Further, I'm going to explore the ways in which river management has helped to mitigate these flood risks. So, first, where is the South Platte River? You can see from this map that the South Platte starts south of Denver, flowing northwards just west of downtown Denver. It then curves east and merges with the North Platte River, which eventually meets up with the Missouri River that eventually flows into the Mississippi. For this presentation's sake, I'm going to focus specifically on the South Platte and the flooding risks of the area that is nearest to the city of Denver, because as you can see, there is clearly a lot of urban development and infrastructure that surrounds this river. This map shows the FEMA 100-year floodplain of the South Platte. This tells us what areas might be impacted by a really large storm that has a recurrence interval of about 100 years. You can see that this area is extensive, intersecting with highways, homes, and more. This map shows the number of homes that lie within this floodplain. The homes in red or dark red indicate stronger levels of risk. This is important because it demonstrates why people want to look at flooding risks, particularly in urban areas. While the South Platte has not had a serious flood in many, many years, the largest flood in Denver's history occurred in 1965. I'm going to give a brief historical perspective on this flood to show you the type of damage that could occur if flood management and risk mitigation does not occur. The map I'm showing here is somewhat hard to read, so I'm going to walk you through it. Essentially, you can find Denver all the way at the top of your screen. This map shows the levels of precipitation that occurred on June 16, 1965. You can see that areas south of Denver received up to 14 inches within 4 hours. This amounts of water flowed upwards through the South Platte and into the Denver metro area. As you're about to see in the images shown, this flood caused a lot of destruction. It claimed 21 lives and resulted in property losses that estimated to be $543 million at the time, which is now worth $4.4 billion in today's dollars. This is the most expensive flood in Colorado's history. It destroyed bridges, railroads, and damaged over 1,700 buildings. Despite these losses, this flood was important because it made people realize that this river could not be ignored. No longer could it be used as a trash dump and a place for factories and rail yards to rid their waste. What would happen if another storm like this hit Denver in 2020? This page shows the levels of maximum daily precipitation received in the last 10 years. As a reminder, the flood of 1965 was about 14 inches of rainfall, compared to these levels of 1, 2, and 3 inches within a day. Luckily, what developed from this flood was the state legislature's creation of the Urban Drainage and Flood Control District, which has become a model for floodplain management agencies. This agency has taken on many flood management properties on the South Platte, one of which I will be taking you guys to see. In the next section of this video, I'm going to describe the sorts of efforts that have been taken to improve the floodplain of the South Platte and the safety risks of flooding. I'm going to travel to South Platte Park, which is in Littleton, Colorado, and south of downtown Denver. At this part of the South Platte, the river channel was too wide for the amount of discharge that was flowing through the river. This meant that there was riverbed and bank instability, as well as a lack of in-stream aquatic habitat activity. However, most importantly, this meant that it was disconnected to the upper floodplain. Their answer was to install a riparian bank to pinch the river into a narrower channel, create faster flows, and a deeper pool of water to provide fish habitat. Instead of a wide channel with steep banks, the river now features a gradual rise to the floodplain.
Hi, okay, we're here in South Platte Park, south of Denver in Littleton, and you can kind of see from the river here that the flood channel used to be all the way over towards those taller shrubbery and aspen trees, but the Mile High Flood District brought this river channel inwards to create heavier and stronger flows and discharges and increase the depth of the water. And this is important for flooding because the riparian bank that's just over here needs to be activated as a floodplain. Smaller, more regular floods that inundate this floodplain that the Mile High Flood District created is important to restoring the river's health and also to give more room to accommodate for larger floods, because these floodplains are only beneficial if they're activated once in a while. So this new configuration is important to the health of the river and for flooding risks when higher temperatures and lower discharges and lower flows even have a bigger impact.
As shown in the previous videos of me at South Platte Park, This new floodplain needs to be activated by smaller floods in order for it to be useful if a larger flood were to occur. This is important, especially as we consider the future environment and the climate. Colorado has been in a drought the last 20 years. This has created a drier environment and significantly less precipitation. This table indicates the level of drought. And this graph shows that the amount of area in Colorado within red and darker red have been increasing over time. This is important to consider when talking about flooding. The longer we are in a drought, the more likely we are prone to a large flood and to suffer from its effects. If floodplains dry out, they become less and less effective. This graph shows the stream flow rate of the South Platte in cubic feet per second for a given day in December in the last 10 years. You can see that the discharge has been decreasing over time, probably in part to this lack of precipitation. Denver's population has continued to rise at a strong rate. This means that more people are moving into these floodplains. Further, Denver is becoming increasingly urbanized as it expands outwards and investment into real estate and development continues. This means that storm runoff is becoming an ever present issue as impermeable surfaces such as concrete continue to be put down. Finally, climate change means that there may very well be stronger and more unusual frequent storms. These factors demonstrate why Denver needs to care about the South Platte River and its flooding risks.